Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are, and happy Pride Month. It is an honor to be able to be with you today to have this webinar online event, joined by some fantastic speakers, Sanae Endo from Gap Japan and James Ryland from Wellington Management, as well as, of course, David Sweet from FocusCore Japan and Yuta Hasumi from Ikigai Authentic. Hello, my name is Himeno Nimi, and I am the Associate Consultant at Ikigai Authentic, and I will be leading you through today's online event. So, Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. June, we know, is Pride Month, although it necessarily isn't the only time we should be celebrating Pride. However, this Sunday, the New York Pride Parade is taking place, which is said to be the biggest, the largest, and most well-known parades to take place, with an estimated 500,000 people participating in it by the time it had reached its 25th anniversary. In London, the London Pride Parade will take place in July, and in Japan, I believe the Pride events took place in April, but there were some conferences that took place this month. So today's online event will follow this agenda. First, we'll receive some opening remarks from David Sweet, followed by a fireside chat on the title, Why Does Pride Month Matter to Us? That will be between David and Yuta, followed by a panel discussion by Sanae and James, and then a Q&A session, and then we will close. So I hope you enjoy this online event, and without further ado, I will pass it over to David Sweet. David, over to you.
Thank you, Nimi-san. I appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you all here, and welcome to Pride Month 2022. Very excited to be here with Sanae-san and James, as well as Yuta-san. Some housekeeping before we get started. There's a chat box. Feel free throughout the evening to put in any chats, any questions that you have. We will try to answer those as we go through the evening, and as the speakers can incorporate answers into their chat later on. I think from my side, Pride Month is an opportunity for us to celebrate individuals' identity and to especially shine a spotlight on LGBTQ plus issues, as well as uplift and amplify the lives and contributions of LGBTQ plus people. As an executive recruiter in Japan, I see how challenging it can be to attract, hire, and retain the best talent in the market. But I think by welcoming and encouraging diversity, individuals and companies grow and thrive with the best talent. Time and again, researchers are showing that diversity stimulates energy, creativity, and even profits. So it behooves companies to cultivate a diverse culture. Tonight, we're here to help raise that awareness, to educate ourselves, to propagate change, hope, and pride in one's identity. In short, we want to inspire people to respect each other and themselves. So tonight, we hope you'll go away with some ideas on how you can help your business and your community to evolve and empower pride. So without further ado, let's get started. I'd like to hand it over to Yuta-san.
All right. Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. Happy Pride. Again, I'm Yuta Hasumi from Ikigai Authentic. So I'm based in London, in the UK, with Jimeno, and also we are the global diversity, equity, and consulting firm, and also we are providing diversity services around the world. But we have like two locations, two primary locations, one in Japan and so one in the UK. So, thank you so much for joining today and also sharing your support. I'm so excited to, hold this event together with FocusCore. And, yeah, our company is putting an emphasis on, business objectives, why, LGBTQ matters to the companies and so individuals in the workplace. And, there, I do respect lots of like social activists, raising awareness and so challenging the social matters. But today, I just want to set the, I just want to set the scene that, all of us, get the ideas and also fostering the knowledge around like, how we can act up on as an ally. And also because each everybody is spending like lots of time every day in the workplace at work, so it's really really important to build the inclusive culture in the organization. So I really really looking forward to having James and Sanai-san later in the panel discussion, and also I hope you will find our session very informative and also pleasant. Thank you. Very nice to meet you. All right. So Himeno-san, so what's the agenda next? What's the next agenda?
Thank you to you both. I believe the next agenda we have is the fireside chat between David and Yuta. And the question is, why does Pride Month matter to us? Why should we celebrate it? Why do we take a whole month to celebrate Pride Month?
Right. That's a great question. As many of you, so FocusCore and Ikigai Authentic has been hosting lots of events. The last one was in March, celebrating International Women's Day. So, diversity and inclusion matters to us a lot. So, David, would you like to share, why we're celebrating Pride Month together?
Well, I think, for my side, what's so important is, as I mentioned earlier about recruitment, it's just important that companies embrace diversity, that, and if I can help our clients do that and raise awareness and give them tools that are practical that they can take back to the workplace, it's just so important. I for my own business, we're a small company, and so we don't always have the organizational development tools to roll out big projects. But on a smaller basis, there are many, many things that we can do. And for our company, we do what we can on a daily basis. And so I wanted to be able to share that with other companies. And I want to learn from the best companies, like Gap and Wellington as well. But it's just so many best practices that can be scaled down. And I just think that's part of the reason that I love doing these webinars with you.
Yeah, definitely. Many, I think now, many candidate in the job market consider, how inclusive and diverse, the companies they are applying for. Is that correct?
Correct. 100%.
Yeah. So for me, I've dedicated my career in like diversity and inclusion, especially like global human resources field for last 15 years. And also, myself, I always feel, kind of, I never be majority, even like when I was working in Japan. So now I am Japanese and so living in the UK, but just, obviously, I am one of the minority here in the UK. But I realize it's really really important to accept the fact I am not kind of in the mainstream. Also, it's really great for my self-esteem as well. Then I think we need that organization where we can be fully ourselves, authentic, also feel energized every day, and 100% focus on what we have to do for work. So then that's why I really appreciate working with lots of like global companies, great organizations who prioritize diversity and inclusion as part of like the corporate strategy. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, it's just so important. And I tonight is about giving omiyages for and we'll talk more about that when we talk with Sinai and James, things that are practical that they've done, pitfalls that they might have. And just that experience is so important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was, more than lucky enough to, work with Sanai and also James before. James and myself work in the same organization. So I was always wowed by him. He's he's always like powerful ally for the LGBTQ community. And so whenever I announced in the organization, hey, who wanna do a mentor for women, and hey, who wanna join the Pride Parade, he always jumped in. So he always be visible in the organization. Also Sanai-san, she's my mentor, and also she's my kind of senpai. And so that's I got lots of ideas and inspiration from her. She always share why diversity matters to her on a personal level, and so in the organization level. So I'm quite inspired by two of them, and so I'm so excited to have the panel discussion after our chat, David-san.
Well, should I introduce our guest speakers then and jump into that?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Why don't we, without further ado, let's get to the main event. Why most everybody's here is to hear Sanai-san and James speak. So just as a quick introduction, Sanai-san, people know, she's a senior director at Gap Japan, where she leads the human resource team, resource strategy for approximately 5,000 people who work at the company headquarters in about 200 stores operated under Gap and Banana Republic brands. And she's striving to create an inclusive and great place to work that's part of a corporate philosophy. Sanai's got an extensive list of HR experience, including Caterpillar, Coca-Cola, and Axis of Life, where she worked with Utah. She's experienced and licensed as a certified mentor, coach, D&I, vocational counselor, and also for people with disabilities. So she's an MBA holder from the University of Wales. And least but not, she's also graduate of the executive program at Stanford University. So a very accomplished professional. And James, who's joining us from Wellington Management, is the Vice President and HR Relationship Manager. And he's responsible for the generalist function for their Tokyo office. He works with business leaders to develop and implement HR strategies to support the business objectives of those groups. He's a member of the Tokyo Management Committee and Women in Business Liaison Group. And prior to Wellington, James was at AIG, BlackRock, and BGI. Barclays, I think, is maybe where I first met you, James, and Microsoft. He has an MBA from the University of Sheffield and a BA from the University of Winchester. So two very impressive speakers. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, David. It has been the best introduction of myself, and maybe I hope I meet up the introduction. But thank you, and thank you, Yuta-san and James. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you as well. That was a great introduction. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Fantastic. I was going to actually mention, just if anybody doesn't know Wellington Management very well, but not as well known as Gap, unfortunately. But we are one of the biggest active asset managers in the world, and we provide asset management services to some major customers in Japan. And we also provide retail products as well. So there may be some Wellington products in your NISA if you do a NISA. So please check those out if you have time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, James. Someone's got some tea boiling. So should we look at, I'd like to start us off by an introduction, but instead of introductions, let's look at, I'd like to hear how each of you is sharing how you're celebrating Pride Month on a personal level. Why don't we start with Sanai-san?
Yes, thank you, David. So, Gab, we focus on inclusion as a company mission. So this month is particularly important, not just to sell T-shirt. I want to show you my rainbow T-shirt. I
Cool.
hope that looks good on me. That is an important month. So throughout this month, not just a personal level, but the company-wide, we've been really promoting how we can incorporate with the people with a different agenda, different way of thinking to be part of a team. So Pride Month is important, but it's an ongoing project that we are always focusing on. And on a personal level, I grew up in San Francisco area, and the area is particularly famous for LGBTQ community. And I lived in the US over 20 years. And when I was young, being Japanese was particularly difficult because of the surge of the economy. And the LGBTQ community actually helped me to be a part of a US society, member of the society. So the partnership that I had with the LGBTQ community was particularly important because of my personal level as well. So I'm going to continue to focus on the embracing the differences and enjoy the part of this community. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Sanai-san. And James, how about yourself?
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry about that. So just talking at the company level, in the same way, obviously, you know, most big and responsible companies are doing very similar actions to GAP. We as well have a whole month of activities around the world, including activities in APAC as well as our other kind of key offices. We're kind of focusing on trying to get exposure and give and communicate about LGBTQ and issues, and grow understanding, which is a very important thing for us. So there's a variety of events going on in the firm itself. For me personally, why is this something that I've kind of put a lot of effort into? And I think you two will have seen this when I was at AIG as well. I think as also David kind of mentioned as well, building a diverse workforce and ensuring we have an inclusive workplace is really key to making us all successful. At the end of the day, you know, companies are there to make profit, and maybe they're making money for shareholders and things like that. But the best way to get to those objectives, I suppose, is to create a good environment where everybody feels happy to do the jobs that they're doing so that they can reach their potential. And this maybe comes me back to my original days in Microsoft, because when I was in Microsoft, we used to have a kind of a kind of tagline that was helping people to reach their potential through software. And I remember that, and we were always talking about how can we grow people's potential. And one way to do that, and Microsoft is probably the place where I first came across the ideas of diversity and inclusion. And that's something that stuck with me through every company I've worked in since. And so for me, I've taken that, being also a minority in Japan as well, similar to Utah feels in London. It makes it really important for me to think not just about LGBTQ issues, but there's a whole wide range of diversity issues that we need to face in Japan and really plant seeds of change to make this society reach its full potential, because Japanese people have so many great traits, but I feel like the workplaces environment really restricts some of that potential. So if I can help build that potential by increasing inclusion and diversity, including LGBTQ, then that's something I think is really worthwhile.
That's great. Thank you, James. Yeah, that psychological safety is just so important for the workplace, and so I think that you've mentioned that it's important. I'd like to kind of hear the kind of holistic views of your company's initiatives for each of you, and what's kind of going on at Gap and Wellington. So maybe that'd be an appropriate time to share what you're doing. Let's bounce back to Sanai-san. I think you had some slides you wanted to share.
Yes, I want to show you a couple slides.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been almost like our soul is an inclusion. That is a mission, inclusive by design. And so I think it's important for us to have that in mission, because everything we do, even HR, IT, anything we do, we think of how we can include everybody. And LGBTQ community is one thing, but as James said, we all are different, from each other. So how are we going to incorporate with the best side of ourselves? So this is how we feel. So Gap, as you may know, that we have a civil brand, Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy, and Athleta, but we have two brands reside in Japan. And the Gap is probably 90% of the business, but the Banana Republic has a strong presence here as well. And a value, as I mentioned, that it really came from two founder of the organization. This gentleman is the Don Fisher. He's a very tall man, and he couldn't find a good pair of jeans. That's how he started. But this picture is very important because his partner, Doris Fisher, is also co-owner of the organization. So back in 1969, co-ownership, especially women in board member, was very rare. But those two leaders started the company together. And Doris is still very active, and she is involved with the community services. So this is a core value that how we're going to incorporate with the differences and how we're going to serve to our community. A lot of cases we said we don't just sell clothes, we sell values, we sell a mission, we sell a partnership of customers. So those are the big goal. And then I mentioned that inclusive by design purpose, because we know that this is going to open up a world, not to close up. So we will focus on the inclusion in mind from the beginning. And this is, as an HR, very important to start with. So whenever we welcome people, we talk about this, the importance of inclusion at first, so that the people know that this company really cares about inclusion and everybody is responsible to perform it. And also we have very strong culture, and I think it shows in our stores and all the customer services. But the two important thing here is the champion inclusion and be customer curious. Today's millennials, they particularly care about the cross-gender clothing, and we have a tagline of "You be you." So even from the childhood, we have a kids line and children line. We mix up colors, and sometimes girls wear dinosaur front and try to be genderless. And that has been accepted really well in Japan society, because I know when I was young, I loved toys that moved. So I like truck, and I worked for Caterpillar, as you can tell that I like big, machinery, and that was rare. But those are the uniqueness of individual is important. And we want to make sure that our customer feels comfortable when they come to Gap. And that includes LGBTQ community. And we can continue, but I think James wants to share your experience, and I'll talk about allyship training later on.
Great, thank you, Sanai. James?
Great. I must say I don't have some fantastic looking slides. Unfortunately, I only have one slide, but maybe I don't need that up just yet, if that's okay. I'll put it up in a minute. if that's all right. Just focus on the speaking first. So I wanted to kind of, first of all, speak. I was kind of just mentioning a little bit about Wellington, and maybe not everybody knows Wellington very well. When I first said I'm going to start working at Wellington Management, people started to think I was going to be involved in some kind of boots. So I had to kind of explain that it was a asset management company, and we're actually named after the Duke of Wellington, from the UK. Don't ask me why, because it will go into too much detail. But we've one of the key things about this company, and reason why I joined it as well, is that we are a private partnership, and compared to some of the firms I've worked in the past, we don't have to answer to our shareholders. As such, everybody, well, there is a key set of managing partners. And then we have other members of the company or also partners as well in the firm. So it makes it a very different atmosphere. And that was something I was looking for when I joined this firm. But I also wanted to move into a firm that had the right culture, somewhere that was ethical, somewhere that was keen to look at sustainability, its impact on the world as a firm, and particularly as a financial services firm. We don't always have the best reputations in the market as such, or within society. But I believe that Wellington has an excellent reputation as a firm that works ethically, works for the needs of its clients. We have a mantra called client, firm, self. And so that self is about the employees, so the people who work there. And that, for me, kind of marked how important and the importance we put onto the people we have working there and the culture we create for the people. So this then led, obviously, as I started working there, to understand how we treat people in the workplace. We always say we treat people humanistically, and that's very key to having the right environments. We treat each other as humans. We know that everybody has a set of challenges in their life, be that something like differences in sexuality, differences in race, differences in type of family, differences in lifestyle, and Wellington tries to accept that. And it's one thing that managers always say to me. We actually had a conversation today with one of our managers, and we were talking about how we wanted to be open and accepting to someone who wanted to take some time away from the company, to take a break, to kind of refresh themselves and allow them to do that. And there are very few companies that would be so open, I think, to kind of thinking so kind of progressively about how we treat employees. So those are just some kind of examples of the way we work. At the same time, we have a great set of people, and the people are our business. If we don't look after these people, we don't have a business. We don't sell products like Gap does. We don't have clothes. We don't have something that you can physically see. We create ideas. We create innovations by researching and studying and putting together information. And the only people who could do that are humans right now. And we don't rely on computers either. We're not a passive investor who uses indexes, which are often reliant on computer models. We rely on people to make decisions. So for us, this is why the inclusion in the company, making sure that this works, making sure we have a good environment for everybody. And this is why this is important. This is why pride is important for us. And so just kind of wanted to explain that a little bit first. So maybe if I hand it back to Sanai, if you want to go to your next part, if that's okay, and then I'll talk more about some other things later.
We'll get that. Thank you, James. That's awesome. And Caroline has put a question in. We'll get to that as well. But I'd like to kind of change gears a little bit and kind of open it up with some context. Yuta, could you maybe jump in And I'd like you to share with us, some of the latest data and trends that are going on in, because that's one of the questions that came from one of the participants, that they wanted to know about, really what's going on globally and how do we kind of fit in as well in Japan specifically.
Sure. Thank you, David. I'd like to share, some of the trends, I've observed as a consulting firm right now, because, I have been discussing with lots of the HR leaders about, how to foster, inclusive workplace for LGBTQ inclusion. So the two concepts in the right are one of the most popular training and workshop and also discussion so far. So one is the allyship culture. So, the concept of allyship is how to support underrepresented communities. And so I think the term is invented for the LGBTQ community, but we talk about the allyship and ally leadership for, all the underrepresented group, even though, how underrepresented groups support each other. So, we have lots of requests to provide the training, how to foster allyship in the leadership. Also the inclusive language, as you can see, our panelists name, we will also add the pronouns, he, his, him, so he, him, and also she, her. So that, so we also, on a practical level, we talked about how to be more inclusive in day-to-day behaviors, how to change our term into gender neutral. So these are also the practical, exercise for everyone can start doing from tomorrow. Also, the other two things is business objectives and also community engagement. Like Sanae-san shows a t-shirt, I can see there are more and more, especially B2C companies they're providing the service and those service and items for the Pride Month, and also they're intended to donate many of the revenue to the LGBTQ associations. Also the community engagement, they're even in Tokyo, there are more and more organizations participating in the Tokyo Rainbow Pride back in April. Also, as Jimeno mentioned before, we have, after 3 years pandemic, many countries didn't have the actual pride. So that's why, people are quite, passionate and also desperate about participating in the in-person pride this year. So in London, New York, and other cities, right? Can you flip the slide, please? So LGBTQ in Japan, today, I will not share everything for now, but there are more and more people aware, the terms and the meaning of the LGBTQ. However, we have to raise more awareness, because unfortunately people are still not interested in involving in the LGBTQ inclusion activities. So that's why this one of the objectives of this webinar is to have opportunity for everyone to think what we can do in the business from tomorrow. Yeah, that's a trend I would like to share. Back
That's
to
great.
you, David.
Thank you, Yuta. Yeah, that helps in painting a context for what we're speaking about. And you'd mentioned James participating in the Tokyo Rainbow Pride as part of LGBT finance. James, do you want to share a little bit about that, please? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, if you could put up my slide then now for that one, if that's okay. One of the things that I've done since we started, I started working at Wellington, and this is something that I was really quite surprised by, is the amount of support that I've had in pushing the agenda for us to be allies for LGBTQ. And I had also had Yuta's help with this, and Yuta came along in the very first days I was there and did a presentation on how to be an ally for us. And that really created quite an amazing amount of interest. And that's why we decided to continue to push and really work towards the kind of inclusion activities that we've been working on. So one of them was visiting Tokyo Rainbow Pride. Another one has been Pink Friday, which is something maybe some of you have not been aware of, but that was last year. Pink Friday is actually a Friday where everybody tries to wear pink. That's something that actually came out of, I believe, Asia. It's more of an APAC thing more than anything else. So that was done in our office, and you can see a picture of us there all wearing pink t-shirts and pink colors. But as a continuation of that, this year in beginning of May, we decided to join Tokyo Rainbow Pride. We didn't manage to, unfortunately, join the parade this time, but we decided that we would all visit, we would arrange like a company visit to the Rainbow Pride Festival. And this is the first time for us that anybody in Wellington has been to this event. I've been quite a few times already, but it was the first time for many of the people who came along with me to experience that event, to understand about what LGBTQ culture is, what kind of support there is in Tokyo and in Japan as a whole for it, what kind of activities are going on, what kind of issues are going on. By visiting the Rainbow Pride Festival, there were so many different stalls that we went round, lots of different games to play and various things to get and pictures to take and everything like that. It was a really exciting and interesting experience, but also it helped enrich our understanding of this. And for some people who'd never would have thought to visit, I think this is a great experience for them. This is the first time for us. Hopefully next year, we'll take part in the parade. Maybe we'll see if we can join the actual kind of stand that's going to be there at the actual festival itself. But as I said, we've grown from really there being not very much at all, with some of Yuta's help on how we should approach the kind of grassroots, how we should build ourselves as allies, by very slowly increasing this kind of ideas and showing communication and showing different aspects of what it is to be LGBTQ. We're slowly gaining this kind of very much kind of ground following of people in the office for these things. So very worthwhile doing these things, and I would encourage all of you to take part in these events if you have a chance.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, James. I think it's just so important in so many different levels, bringing that awareness. It sounds like it's a fun event, and it also unites your own team members as well. It's fantastic. Sanai-san, you were also participated in your own parade.
Yes.
And I think what I'd like to kind of integrate Caroline's question at this point, because I think it's relevant. And she was asking, do you think Pride Month can be used wrongly by companies as an opportunity to improve the image rather than a moment to promote inclusion and diversity? If so, how to avoid it? And I think you had some challenges that you observed for your own parade. So could you share those experiences, please?
Yes. So we've been an active participant of a Tokyo Rainbow Pride, and this continues, not just Tokyo, but throughout Japan. We have many opportunities to express our support to LGBTQ community, but this year we decided to really focus on internal Rainbow Pride. So we asked the store people to put up their heart sign, the messages, and celebrate Pride Month. And we also have a cafe in Shinjuku, and we provided the rainbow colored cafe so that the people can look at it and feel a part of the community. And we sold the T-shirt. But that is not just to sell and selling T-shirt, but that the money has been donated to support equal marriage partnership. So that is a strategy, not to participate Pride parade itself, but showing internal support to the community. I think important thing is it's not just a one-time thing. I think it needs to be continuous support, and how we can support. It's a challenge because as an organization, a part of the Rainbow Pride costs a lot of money, and not every company has the kind of budget to support. But there's a multiple way to show our support. For example, there's card, or even just a coffee or T-shirt to donate. That's what we do well. So look for a strength and provided the support by doing that. And I think actually that bring our team together. So I want to show you another photo. So throughout the Japan, we wore the T-shirt and showed that the ribbon, and also Banana Republic has a different strategy, but that they show their way to support allyship. And this actually bring people together. And I really enjoy it. Instead of going to the parade, this is one of the other things. So Carolina, do I answer your question?
Yeah, I think, I mean, one of the things I'd like to highlight that you said, Sanai-san, that it's not a quick fix.
No.
It's a continuing, it's continuing for a long time. It's not going to be an overnight change, nor should we expect it to be, but it should not also be discouraged, and there will always be setbacks, which kind of leads me into something you just alluded to, and I'll give this to both you and James, as far as what happened on June 20th with Osaka court, and their ruled that Japan's ban on same-sex marriage was not unconstitutional. What are your thoughts? How, and probably bringing it more to relevance to our own, to companies and such, is how can companies further support equal marriage rights? What do you think, Sanai-san?
Well, it's very difficult for us to change law, but we can change a mindset, that is to embrace love and care for others. This is what I learned from youth, especially. He is a great listener, and he is always showing kindness in every action that he delivers. And that, consider for me, is an inclusion. And as a GAP employee, we consider how we can show love and support to the community. And selling T-shirts is one thing, but we donate it, not just pledge, we donate it. So to support the community, and hopefully the day will come and we can all celebrate, a love and support for each other.
Thank you, Sanai-san. What do you think, James?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's disappointing to see that kind of thing happen, but the fact that it was happening at all was important. And I'm pretty sure that this is one of the first times that this challenge has been made. And if I recall back, and obviously being from the UK, the law in the UK used to be very strict, and there used to be none of the kind of liberties that we have now with regards to marriage and same-sex partnerships and adoption of children or anything like that back in the 90s. So I mean, I would say Japan is lagging behind maybe some of the what we would deem to be more developing countries, but it's lagging behind and it will catch up eventually. So I think we've got to keep the momentum. Yes, this is disappointing, but let's keep going. Let's keep building allyship. Let's keep building understanding, communication. As you say, keep building with love and understanding, and things will work out. And so I don't think we should be negative. I don't think we should be complaining and getting angry. I think we should continue to show the positivity of the community that there is here and the kind of strength that they have, and all the good things that can come out of this. So yeah, maybe it's a new start point for us, and we just keep going.
Great, thank you, James. You had mentioned allyship, and I'd like to, I know we have, Yuta-san and I did a webinar about allyship, and we have a recording of that on the website, so people can watch that. But Yuta-san, do you want to talk a little bit around allyship for participants?
Jimeno, can you please share the slide? Yeah, I would love to hear more about the allyship, ally leadership from James and Sanae, but just, I would like to articulate, the 6 steps to becoming an ally, we are advocating. So the first one is the, educate yourself. It's I really appreciate you joining the event today. And so I think, we have great access to the information, the seminars, and so the materials. So like educate yourself is the first step. The step 2 is own your privilege. So if you are not LGBTQ people, it means we might be a majority in the certain sense. That time, the majority is powerful as a critical mass. So you can use your power and as an authority to build an inclusive culture. The step 3 is be a visible ally. So even though you're very supportive, you're very allied, it's not so visible from outside. So I think it's really great to be more assertive, and also showing your support, more visible. The step 4, building an ally network. I am aware that many company has, internal, like the employee network. It's sometimes called the employee resource group. You can participate in the ally network and also share your thoughts and also your support with each other to build like a stronger ally network internally and externally. And the step 5 is be your voice, be their voice. Sometimes if we are underrepresented, we tend to be hesitant to be assertive, to raise our voice, because they don't want, we don't want them to take us like very aggressive or emotional. So that time, but it doesn't mean we should be tolerant. So that time, as an ally, we can be their voice on behalf of them. And so if you find an opportunity to change the policies and also raise awareness, as well as create learning opportunities, you can be their voice. The step 6 is leverage for business. And as we know, James and Sanae already share their best practices. As an organization, we can always think why LGBTQ inclusion matters to our business. So that's the 6 steps to becoming an ally. So I just want to open for James and Sanae-san, to share more ideas. Back to you, David.
Great, thank you, Yuta-san. Yeah, let's jump over to James. You're a strong ally. What do you think the most important roles you believe allies, how you demonstrate them?
I think first of all is you can't force this. It's got to be a kind of gentle process. And we started with this, you could come and drop into a session on allyship, which we had you to do more advertising for you. After that, though, it meant that people were aware, and we launched our group, our LGBTQ group, in the Tokyo office, which is part of our wider Pride Plus organization within Wellington, which works globally. And we did it kind of very slowly and said, we have some fun events. So the key thing is having fun. So Pink Friday was one of them. We all wear pink T-shirts. We gave away food and sweets and said, come along and celebrate. And the same has gone for other events that we've done, presentations and globally led events as well, trying to make them fun. I think always including food into any session normally attracts people to be curious and find out what's going on. It has been very difficult though in the past 2 years because we can't do things in person. And so this year has really been very good for us because we were able to do things in person, like we've been able to go to the Tokyo Rainbow Pride Festival, which was impossible for 2 years. So but I think, yeah, as I said, fun, keep it interesting, take it easy, don't go too fast. And it will start to grow because we found, and just been surprised by the people who've said, oh, I want to go and do this, or I'm really interested to come in this. You know, just people we didn't think would actually join in, suddenly put their hands up and join in.
That's great, James. How about you, Sanai-san?
Yeah, I just want to show you something. Today we had an event, invited activists of LGBTQ community, and this has been like a really powerful picture that everybody had this background and show our support. And this really reveals that the employee side, they feel like they're part of the community, and almost over 100 people joined this seminar. And the message was, be yourself. And because agenda started to become so fuzzy, you know, I'm tomboy. When I go home, I'm like oyaji, you know, a guy who drinks beer and enjoy the moment. And in the office, sometimes you need to utilize a more male-dominated side, that more logical, more calm, but at the same time, try to be open and feel. So that's who I am, and started to show that it's okay to be that way. And leaders started to show that the fuzziness to the organization, people started to be themselves. And it's just the borderline of a man versus a woman started to become very, you know, fuzzy, and that's okay. And that's how our product lineup started to become more like that, you know, and we mix up male and female clothing traditionally all together so that the people can do mix and match. And dressing up started to become one way to show who we are. And it's a strategic decision, because unless you're yourself, you're not going to be fullest, showing your fullest potential. So we encourage people to show us support, but that is also show ourselves to be ourselves. And that was the message that we got from our guest speaker, and I really resonated that message. Be you.
That's
And you
great.
love yourself. I mean, we kept talking about love all day long, so it made me feel really good. I love myself.
I love it, Sanai-san. That's good.
Yes.
Our hour has gone by very fast, but let's take a couple minutes. I'd like to we want to leave our guests with some kind of practical omiyage for LGBTQ. If you're going to kind of give an omiyage to our guests tonight, what would you say? Let's start with Sanai-san.
Okay, so my omiyage to everybody is, I think this has been a discussion, but don't give up. Don't get on the horse again. Don't get off the horse all the time. Once you commit, let's go all the way. And as I said, we may not have budget all the time, but this is the voice of what you get if you continue to have conversation. For example, I believe my brand function is diverse and inclusive. 92% of the employees said yes. And 90% of the people said, I'm an ally and want to be part of it. And I'm proud to work at Gap Japan. 98%. That's extremely high. And that's because people know that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be unique. It's okay to be different, because that is a strategic direction that's going to be a force to really stay strong as an organization. So long commitment, maybe small step, but continuation is the key. So that is my omiyage to everybody. And love yourself.
Thank you, Sinai-san. James.
I think my takeaway is be fearless. Don't be scared of doing something when you think it might not be acceptable in the organization or with the people around you. Just try it and see. And I think that's very much the experience I've had. And I think Yuta had when we were at AIG and when we were at Wellington is, I never expected there to be this following created within the firm. Wellington, when I joined it, we've changed a lot. We've become a lot more international. We have a lot more international people working for us, but I wasn't really hopeful about being able to create any kind of LGBTQ momentum in the firm, but by trying it and seeing what happens, we've been able to do this. So just be fearless.
I love that. Yeah, that's you should have butterflies in your stomach. It gives fire to what you're trying to accomplish. I really like that, James. We got I'm going to make an executive decision, and we're going to go a little bit long. We have a question on women who are part of LGBTQ plus community in Japan. I asked, do women face more challenges than others, do you think? How I'd like to give Ai-san a kind of answer for her tonight.
Well, I think women in LGBTQ community is a lot more accepted than actually men. It's because of the rental situation. If women together wanted to rent an apartment here, that's all accepted. But if men decided to rent an apartment, that gets really hard. And women all together having a trip to somewhere, okay. But men together, sometimes it's difficult. So in terms of a social norm, I think women are a lot more acceptable. However, also LGBTQ community altogether could be a challenge because gay community, lesbian community, different agenda. So mixing up everybody, it might not be the right solution. So we may need to take a step back and make sure that everyone's voices are heard.
I mean, it's still around individual.
Oh yes.
Well, right, those individual needs. James, anything you would add to that?
No, I think that pretty much sums up pretty well. I think I'm not female, so I'm not going to really kind of comment too much. But I would agree with what you've said. That there is some more acceptance here, and that's partially via the media. Unfortunately, how things are portrayed and how people understand it more widely. So there needs to be more kind of communication of what it really means and what this is exactly. I think people have an image and probably it's the wrong image. So it does make it easier to start with, but I think there's more to it than that. So yeah.
I hope we answered your question. I would like to skip over to Christine asked a question. Have you any particular good practices in small businesses that you believe are excellent models for those other corporations to follow? I think that's, as I mentioned, being a small company, I'm going to throw one in as a small company. One thing that's always easy, start. Just do something, any little something. But Sanai-san.
Yeah, sure. I will ask a small company to go to the Rainbow Pride all together as like a family event. That definitely helps because they can bring kids and family, so it becomes more like a family event.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can I jump in with a question?
Yes.
James?
Yeah, I was going to say, because our office is actually quite small in Tokyo, we only got 100 people in the office. So I would say we're a small business in a way, but we're not, well, we're a big small business. But the key thing is getting the right people involved and the right people to support you. So we've been lucky to have the support of our head of office for any of the things that we've done, and he's participated in most of the activities that we've run. So getting those kind of top management people to join in and be visible is really the key thing to get things going. So yeah, that was what I would suggest.
That's a good one. Yeah. If you need to get that management involvement and buy-in to really make sure that the rug's not pulled out from under any initiatives that are going on. Yuta, we wanted an omiyage from you, and maybe any closing remarks.
Sure. Thank you very much. And also, I wanted to answer to also the Kristen's question, because many of my clients are also running small business as well. And as James and Sanai mentioned, it's, and also David mentioned, like it's easier to influence the entire organization. So everybody can participate in all the initiatives. So one of my clients, like, best practices that they're running like their hair salon, and so they are promoting themselves as a diversity hair salon, and also they just remove the price list divided by men and women, so they provide the consistent price list for everyone. Then like they also have some like private room when they were renovating their hair salon. Then they can take kind of more like the private advice and also concerns advice from the client, since like they are promoting as their diversity hair salon, and so they get more attention from LGBTQ customers. So sometimes that especially transgender customers are struggling to go to the most of the hair salon to ask the style in alignment with their hairstyle, alignment with their identified gender. So but just they're started being chosen by LGBTQ communities. So that's also one of the best practices that I wanted to feature. And also thank you so much for so much for participating in the event today. So it means a lot to us, because we are intended to raise awareness, and also like the building the momentum in Japan and the other societies as well, because as we discussed, it's a little bit disappointing that so about the kind of case in the Osaka. So but that's why we really need more momentum building. So my omiyage is like I in addition to be fearless and so love yourself, is get the allyship culture permeated into the organization. All of us make an intentional effort to take the diversity subject more personal, more like that, by repeating the questions such as why diversity matters to me, my business, and my communities. So Pride Month or following months, that will be a great opportunity for us for your coworkers and so yourself to pay attention to our own allyship. Yeah. Thank you so much. And so I just wanted to share one of the event upcoming the end of this month. So this next week's 29th of June. So we are inviting other guest speakers to talk in Japanese about LGBTQ best practices, and so how to be practically allies. If you have Japanese colleagues and also other co-workers who can understand Japanese, please forward this information to your co-workers and your friends, and so your family as well. So we will continue building momentum and also talking about LGBTQ inclusion and allyship. Yeah, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sanai. Thank you, James.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Pride Month, June.
Happy Pride Month.
Yes,
Happy Pride
bye.
Month.